There are 18 lines in the bottom and pay vav on the base in the sugi of tshuva and ton rabbanon. Averish svad aleim yom kippur zeh lo yisvad aleim yom kippur macha pay vav on the base. 18 lines in the bottom. Ton rabbanon, right by the parentheses. Averish hisvad aleim yom kippur zeh lo yisvad aleim yom kippur macha. Once you do one, you don't repeat the next year. And shana behem, and if you do go ahead and misvad, it's sarch lisvad yom kippur achev. What am I saying? Vim shana behem sarch lisvad yom kippur achev. Vim shana behem. It's if you repeat the avera, then you have to go ahead right and repeat it and say vida. Vim shana behem because of lisvad aleim. If you don't do the avera and you repeat vidu and that avera, below because of Amer, the Torah says kakelev shav el kiyai, just like a kiyai. Just like a dog returns to its regurgitation, ksil shoyne bavlosai, ksil a fool repeats his foolishness. Rabbi Yaakov says no. Rabbi Yaakov vaymer kol shkein shu meshubach. If he's going ahead and saying vidui on a veira that is common to do, it's meshubach. Penny on pei vav on the base, about 16 lines up. Kol shkein shu meshubach shneimar ki pishyani edav chatasi neged samid. Elamani mekayim kekelev shav kei. Late Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov. What does he do with the pasuk like a kelev returning to its kei? Kid Rav Huna. Dam Rav Huna. Kimin shava adam avera v'shana. Since a person does an avera and repeats it, hutrulay, it becomes mutter to him. Furthermore, hutrulay stalket aitach. Alei menasas loy keheta. Right? It's nasas keheta, very famous. And we saw Salant on this. What about the third time? Shana mitzvah. Right? The third time is shana mitzvah. Now it's the shari tshuva. In Shar Rishon, hey, says about this. What's it teaching me? So you do it a second time. What's it teaching me? So he goes, it's a worse avera then. In other words, if a person is cognizant he's doing an avera and does the avera, it's bad enough. But if he thinks that it's already heta, it's trying to tell you that it's a worse avera. It's not saying it's not just telling you a musavar. It's sarchlif for esachet. You have to go ahead when you say vidu. You have to explain the chet shnemar. Ana chata ha'amazeh chata gedolah. V'yas lehem elahei zahav. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Rabbi Kiva Amino. Ashrei nasei pesha kisa chatas. It's better to go. Fortunate is the one who covers up his faith. So don't be misfada. Alamau shama Moshe. When Moshe said v'yas lehem elahei zahav, what does he do with that? If you tell me you're supposed to go ahead and cover it up, so why is Moshe mefarsim it? Exactly what the chait was. Ki Rabbi Yanai. The Rabbi Yanai. Ema Moshe l'fnei Kodesh Baruch Hu. Rebbeinu Shalom. Kesev v'zav shehebeisa lehem Yisrael atsham budai gorim lehem shiasu elahei zahav. Very interesting. In other words, Moshe is coming. The Gemara in Brachas Lamed Aleph says he's throwing klape mile. He's going ahead and he's giving kaviyachol. He's saying Hakadosh Baruch Hu, it's your fault. You gave him too much gold and silver. We spoke out many times. The Meshech Chochmah said that all the gold and silver in the world was in Mitzrayim, and Bnei Yisrael walked out with such a tremendous amount of kesev v'zav. So therefore, you gave him too much. So that's what he was saying. Not to explain, not to go ahead and say that you have to say what they did, but to explain why HaKadosh Baruch Hu caused it. Kaviyachol. Shnei, very interesting Gemara. Shnei parnasim toivim amdulam Yisrael. There were two leaders that amdulam Yisrael. Moshe and David. Two very interesting leaders, Moshe and David. Moshe Amar, by Moshe it says, Moshe Amar Yichtav Surchani, write down my srach, write down my avera. Shenemar, as it says in the Torah, Yan lo yamanta be like the shady by talking to the rock instead of hitting the rock. So we know Moshe's avera. He didn't get into Eretz Yisrael because of what? Because lo yamanta be like the shady. This very obscure avera, exactly what the avera was. Write it down. David Amar Al Yichtav Surchani. The Ma'aser Bat Sheva. Don't write it down. I don't want this. I don't want that written down at all. And Kadosh Baruch Hu, we had the Gemara in Shabbos, right? Don't you want to be Hoikemula Shel Tshuva? People see Bali Tshuva. Okay, anyway. Shenemar Ashrei Nasei Pesha. Fortunate is the one who causes Pesha. Kisa Chata. Now, Mashal the Moshe v'David l'mad David. What's it similar to? Again, Moshe wanted his Avera publicized, and David wanted it not. David l'shtei nashim shalaku. Two women who did Averis. Bebezna. They come to Bezna. Achas Kilkala, one was accused of adultery, one was accused of znus. The Achas Achla Page Shvius, and one of them ate Page, unripened figs in the Shemitah year. I guess one did something much worse than the other, right? So Amalehem, Oisa Shachla Page Shvius, listen, please, Haidiu al Mahi Laika. Everyone should know why I'm being punished. Shlo Yomru al mashazu laika zu laika. What this is getting malchus for, this one's getting malchus for. I don't want to be associated with this. Someone said to Moshe, guys, look at Rashi. What happened, Moshe? Says Rashi. Shtei nashim shalaikos, fourth line down. Achas kolkola zansa. The hisru bala malchus. They said you're going to get malchus. Kach dara midbar. Mesu ba midbar. She'eminu l'meraglim. Right? Umaisha meis ba midbar. Al shamu no hamayrim. So Amar kos yichtav surchuni. We both don't go into Eretz Yisrael. So people Kaviyachal could think Moshe didn't go into Eretz Yisrael for the same reason that the Midbar didn't go into Eretz Yisrael, because they believe in the Meraglim. So Moshe says, no, tell him I. It's just like the Isha, the Page Shvius. I did this. I had nothing to do with this woman. Conversely, David, who was accused of adultery, and we know he didn't, called David Kol Yotz leMelchemes David Kasav Krisis le Isha. You write a great Krisis. We had the whole Gemara involved in Shabbos. Okay, so the Chayra he wanted to cover it up. So that's what it's compared to.
It wasn't being farce in the Avera because of the Avera itself, that it shouldn't get confused.
Correct.
As to it.
Therefore, you're correct. You clarify things. Everyone now understands it better. I understand. So now, the Zelo Aviu Pagish Shvius, they brought the Tolubit Savara, they go ahead and hang it around the neck. You like it. Okay. Mifarsim in Sachanofim, Fechil Hashem. Mifarnis the Chanofim people over because Chil Hashem. Shnemar, Ubeshuv Tzadik Mitzit Goy, Vasa oil. Of oil and a sati michshol lefanov. Shuvas hamachlatim makeves hapranius. Shuvas that of Rishoyim. Machlatim is Rashi's Rishoyim. Shuv of Rishoyim is ma'akev pranius. V'af bishen nechtam alav gzardin shal pranius. Even if it was nechtam gzardin, then the shuvas stops it. Shalvas Rishoyim seifet tikla. But the end, when they're shalvat to Rishoyim, when they're in peace, in the end it's going to be not good for them. Right? What does Rashi say? Hamachlatim is Rishoyim gemurim. Shalvis Rishayim Seifet Takala, left side. Mitoy Shalvasam Heim Yoshvim Umaharim Baveris. Since they're Bishalva, they have plenty of time on their hands to do evil. Roshus Mukaveris says Baleha. Roshus is this case Rabbonis. It's Mukaveris says Baleha. It buries its Bal. Orim Niflasla, they go in with nothing. One Yates, they go out with nothing. Mimena. But Levaisha Yitzia Kibia. Halavai, they're leaving it should be the same as going in. For example, Rav Kiavi Nafik Lemeidan, Dina, when Rav could go ahead and pass in a din, Amahachi, he would say the following: Bitzvoi Nafshe Lekatala. Of his own will, he's going to die. But Bitzvoi Nafshe Lekatala Nafik. So it's like a suicide mission. I'm going to die. I can go ahead. Rashi says on the Amar Aleph, guys, Lekatala us the top line. Lisa Einish Chet. I'll carry the Einish of a Chet. Shema Yashka Bedin. Maybe I'll make a mistake in din. That's why he was saying about himself. So what is he doing? He doesn't take care of the needs of his house because he's busy in court. For Reik on the base of Oslo, he goes to his house empty. It's not a very, very profitable profession. Well, you could see a halabai. I should leave the profession the same way I go into it. Rava, the same thing. They take this out. Some people, Rava, ki have enough. The dean of the exact same lashon hamachi. But soon after the Katola Nafik, he got his own free will, he's going to die. He would sue base of does not take to his house. For Rake on the base of Oslo, for Levi should they be a Kitsia. If you have a Kosi Abasrei, when Rava, the very humble Rava, would see an entourage of people following him, I might say the following to put himself back in place. A difficult pasuk in the yod. And Yalil Shemayim, if you go up to Shemayim, see you, and you see, I guess his eminence goes to Shemayim. The Roishe La'ov Yakio, when his head reaches the clouds, Kiklolu in Netzach, Roya Yom Roya. Kiklolu in Netzach, you're like dung forever. And his Royas say him, what happened to him? Where is he? In other words, he would go ahead and say this pasuk, Rava, to go ahead and put himself back in this place after what? After all this entourage of people going showing him covet. Rabbi Zutra Kiyavi Mikatfele. The Shabbat, Rav Zutra was old and he was sick, and when they would carry him, the Shabbat the Rigla, the Shabbos the Regel, to Darshan Aviyam would say, Kiloi Lo'ilam Chayse, the power is not in this world. The Nezer the Dar is the Nezer forever. No, it's again just to put himself back in his place. Says Panay Russia Leitoiv, to show favor to Russia is not good. Leitoiv Lehem Rishayim Shenoisim and Panay Mazeh, not good for them to be shown favoritism in this world. Leitoiv Leila Achav, it's not good for Achav, Shenos Lei Panay Mazeh, Shneimar Yan Ki Nichne Achav Mifanai, Le'avi Rabbi Miyama. In other words, what happened was if Achav would have been punished in this world, he would have got something in the next. But since he did little tshuva in this world, he was saved in this world, but it wasn't good for the next world. However, lahatis tzaddik v'mishpat tov lehem, the tzaddikim shein noisen lehem panav b'olam hazeh. It's good for them. They don't show favoritism for them in this world. Tov lo Moshe shlei nosen lo panav b'olam hazeh. Shnemar yan lo imantim bi lahagdi sheni. Right? Ha'ilu he imantim bi. If I would have gone ahead right and allowed him to go there to Yisrael, adayin lo yagia zman li partev min ha'olam. You see, you're right that Moshe he would have lived longer. Ashreihem letzadikim lo yidayin shem zeichim elech v'zakim lebanim u'leibanim. The tzadikim are fortunate, not enough their zeicha, but they're only zeicha what we call schusavas. Their zeicha, their children and the children after that. At seif kol hadaris. Shekama banim hoyol la'aron sheruin l'sarif kinadav aviyu. Fascinating. Aaron had other sons. We only knew two of them, but they're right to be born like nadav aviyu. Why is that? Shnemar hanay sarim. It says those were left over, meaning mashma they were on the same level as the other sons. The schus of Aaron. However, not only they mechayiv themselves, they mechayiv generations. Canaan had many kids, as you can imagine. We're going to meet Bez Hashem in Sukkah, right? The famous Tavi Avdei Rebbe Gamliel. This mashma, we had smicha, shavui and lismich. To get smicha, many of them. So what happened to these guys? And the chayvus aviyim of Canaan caused them to be what? To be, not to send. Anyone's mezakeh rabbim, no chait can come through his hands. In other words, Hashem blocks the chait. Rashi says Hashem blocks the chait. Ein chait b'al yad. This is Rashi. Kodesh Baruch Hu madchem mipanam. Kodesh Baruch Hu pushes away from the front of Mesavera shleitov liyad, that should not come to him. B'chol machdias rabbim. Conversely, some of his machdias rabbim Kiman ema speaking yad lasos tshuva. Doesn't let him do tshuva. Why does pshat? Kol mezakas rabbim ein chait b'al yadai. Right? Why? My timer. Kedei shlo yehu begehenim v'talmidav began Eden. This guy's a mezakeh rabbim, right? So is this talmidim? They're in Gan Eden. They're doing great. So if he doesn't have he ends up in Gehenna. So how would it be if the one who was causative to them? So therefore, Kodesh Baruch Hu stops him out from the Avera happening. Right? Convert Shenemar, because the pasuk says, Ki loy sazav nafshi l'shol. Right? He won't forsake my nefesh l'shol. There was lashon leisitin chasidcha l'irish shachas, not to see chasidim won't see Gehenna. V'cholamachti as a rabbin, ema speaking b'yad alas tshuva shlei hehu began Eden. Right? Let's say he causes people to do bad. He does tshuva. He ends up in first place. Right? Right? There's one person I don't understand. Avuz Rajan. Avuz Rajan was a murderer. He murdered millions. That I don't understand.
It's children.
Yeah, children. The tshuva. It's hard to understand. Shleyehu began Eden with Hamida begehenim. Shnemar Odom Oshik b'dam nafesh ad bar Yonos al yismachu. Boy, I can teach what's called teach. A man's guilty of bloodshed will run into the pit. They won't support him. Okay, that's the article. Right? I'll do an avera, I'll do tshuva, I'll do tshuva. Ema speaking the other last tshuva. Why did I have to say it twice? We just won the Amid base. Amarav, Kivin Shava, other Maveva, Vishanaba, Hutraloi becomes Mutta, Fred Gamara, Hutraloi, Sachataitach, Elanasis like a het, becomes what? Nasis Keta. Echtav Yom Kippur Mechape, Ein Yom Kippur Mechape. It's not going to work. Let me must listen. Like Rabbi, guys, what did Rabbi say the other day? Tshuva needs Yom Kippur, but Yom Kippur doesn't need Tshuva. Mashma that atzmai of Yom Kippur is Mechape. So if a person says, I'll do an aver Yom Kippur Mechape, that's it's not like Rabbi, because like Rabbi, Yom Kippur should be Mechape, correct? That's what Rabbi said yesterday. At the time, Rabbi Yoma, Akol aver Shebet Torah, Bein Esa Tshuva, Bein Lo Esa Tshuva, Yom Kippur Mechaper. So when I feel the time of Rabbi, Agav Shiny. Agav, when you're going to get B'Sayich on Yom Kippur, then it's different. Then it won't be Mechape for you. Averus ben Adam l'Malkaim Yom Kippur. You can do tshuva for Averus ben Adam l'Chaveroi. It's not mechaper until you write a chaver. You have to go in and ask forgiveness from your friend. Rami le Rabbi Yosef bar Chavo le Rebbe Vo. Averus ben Adam l'Chaveroi in Yom Kippur mechaper. Ivach Kasev. Listen to this pasuk. And yechte ish leish ufiloloi elikim. So if a person ish leish, that's ben Adam l'Chaveroi, Ufilu Kim, you daven to Hashem. So it's mashma through HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you could get kapara for ish leish ben adam chaveira. So and for the Gemara, no man Elohim dayana. V'amdu shnei anashim l'fnei Elohim. Elohim is lashon of dayanis, guys, right? Midas adin dayanim. So in other words, here's the way you read the pasuk: Im yechta ish leish. If one person sins against another person, ufilu le'elikim, and then he has a piece, but he goes to dayanim to go ahead and handle with it, if it's a monetary thing. But it's not a lashon of tefillah; it's a lashon of piyos. Dayanim. Ihachi ema sefer. What does the end of the pasuk say? V'im laHashem yechta ish mi yispalaloi. V'im and Hashem ben Adam lechaveroi mi yispalo, who will go ahead and appease him? There's the Chayra. Rashi says there's many appeasements to Kodesh Baruch. What are you talking about? In other words, if I touch the first part of the pasuk, it's not a lashon of tefillah; it's a lashon of appeasement. So the second part as well, but it fits in well in the first part. It doesn't fit well in the second part. So on that, the Gemara answers, "Hachi come on." Here's the way you touch up the pasuk: Im yechta ish leish ufilulay elikim. Elikim Yimchal Loi. V'im laHashem yachta ish mi yispalul ba'adoi. Who's going to go ahead and appease for that person? Tshuva ma'asim toivim. Okay, but in achinami, beinod lechaveru, you have to be meratzi chaveru, as we're going to see this evening. Amrav Yitzchak, kol ha'mankeres chaveroi. Anyone who angers his friend, afilu b'dvarim shetzorach lefaisai, even what things that he have to mefayis shenemar. Afilu bidvarim, stop. Sorach lefaisai, right? Afilu bidvarim. I read it wrong, guys. You go ahead bidvarim. In other words, it wasn't monetarily. It wasn't that they can have a person messes you up. I don't know. Everyone asks you for a loan. You got to be careful. First, they ask you for a loan. They ask you for a matana. Most of the time, a loan they don't pay back. In my fortunate experiences. Okay, so you can have a taina on the guy. So you have a taina. How can you do that to me? How can you do that? How can you set me up? Anyway, no, I feel a bit varim. The guy said something not nice to you in shul. Yeah, I feel it's sort of faisa. You have to mefaish. Nemar, banai, bobini im a rafta l'reyacha. I'm going to read it. We need the end of the pasuk. A rafta l'reyacha. If you're an oire for your friend, the katel is there kapech and the kashli. You stuck at your palm for a stranger. You're me picha us as ois. Efod bini v'natzel ki bos bekafrei echel leich go hisrapes urahavreyecha. We're going to dash in those three words. We're going to break them up as acronyms, guys. Hisrapes urahavreyecha. What does that mean? Imam and yesh biyadcha. If you have his money in your hand, take the word hisrapes, guys. Hitter loy pisas yad. Open up your palm of your hand. You see it, the word hisrapes? Hitter pas means pisas yad. Open up your hand. The word hisrapes we're dashing as a Rashi Tevis. Open up your hands and pay him back. V'im lav, now the pasuk of urahat reyecha. If it's not an inyan of mominus, it's an inyan of what of stam dvarim, then here of reim, go ahead urahat reyecha, go get a bunch of people to go ahead and try to appease him. Amrav Chisda, but tzarch lefaisa b'shlosh shuash shlosh b'yadam. You have 3 times with 3 people. Shneimar yasha ala nashim v'yoymar 3 things. Chatasi 1. For Yasha Havisi is 2, for Shavali is 3. Amr Yisrael Chanina, call him Vakesh Mota Michaberi. Anyone who's Vakesh pardon from his friend, Al Yavakesh Menu Yosim Mishlosh Upon. Mashma guys, Al Yavak, don't ask more than 3 times. Look the Lashon, be Medayak. Call him a Vakesh Mata Michaveri, and he doesn't give you Mechila. Al Yavakesh Menu Yosim Mishlosh Upon. Do not ask more than 3 times. Okay, keep that in mind. Shenemar. Ana sana va'ata sanas. So 3 nas, right? The emes, then right, then maybe Asur ben Adam wa midim al kivroi v'oimer chatasi l'Hashem al Yisrael u'leploni shechavalti bayim. Pliny that I was chayvul and I wounded him. Rav Yirmiyah havilei milsa l'Rav Abba. Rav Yirmiyah, right? Rav Yirmiyah had something to do with Rav Abba. In other words, Rav Abba was angry at Rav Yirmiyah. Rav Yirmiyah did something to Rav Abba, and V'hadei Ozil Isa Adosha de Rav Abba, and Rav Yirmiyah went, guys, and he sat on the door of Rav Abba because he wanted him to come out and he wanted to yes mechila. However, Bahadei the Shadya, when he was sitting there, Amsamaya Bahadei Shadya Amsa Maya Amatas Rifi de Maya Resha. The shiksa, she threw the water out and it dripped on his head. You ever to swallow, go buy one of those pipes? Right?
Yeah,
The sponger, right? Yeah, saying so it dripped on his head. So Omar said Rav Abba to himself, Asauni ka'ashpa, I'm like a garbage dump. Kara nafshi, me ashpa yorim evyon. So Rav Yirmiyah said, me ashpa yorim evyon, not Rav Abba, Rav Yirmiyah. Shomer Rav Abba, he heard Rav Yirmiyah, outside v'nofik la'pei, Amalei, hashtat tzrichnel l'meifik adetech. Now I have to ask you forgiveness for my shiks of throwing water in your head. Ichsiv l'cha hisra peis v'rov reyacha. Rav Zera kiavile milsa b'had inish. Rav Zera, when you have an incident with people that they had to ask him forgiveness, havi cholif v'tam l'kamei, he would pass in front of them to give them a chance. Umematzi leki heif d'neisiv v'neifik le'midaite. Rav havile milsa b'had havutavcha. Rav had an incident with a butcher. And the butcher did not come in front of Rav. Erev Yom Kippur, they asked forgiveness. So Rav said, I'll go, I'll give him a chance. So Pagi Rav Huna, Rav's Talmud Muvik said to him, Amalei, where you're going, Mar? Amalei, I'm going to pious the butcher. So Ezel Abba Lemikdal Nafsha, the Abba is going to kill himself. In other words, meaning he's going to kill somebody, as we'll see. Also, will come Lavei, have a Yosef Polirosha. He's the butcher was Polly, he was banging on some type of bone. Doliani, he lifted up his eyes, and he saw Rab, Amalei, Abba, derogatorily, he called him Abba, Abba Richta, Abba. Abba Atazil, go leave. Leslie Milsabadach. I have nothing to do with you. But as he was banging on his bone, his shtabit gorma, a bone shut out, Machia Bekoya, it hit him in his throat, the Katli, and it killed him. As Rav Huna said, Rav, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill somebody. Rav Havi Pasik Sidra Kamei the Rebbe. Rav was Pasik Sidra. He was darshaning guys in Nevi'im or Kesuvim in front of Rebbe. Okay? Ayel Amid Beis. Ayel Asa Reb Chia. He came a little late. Hadalaresha. Rav returned to the cover of Chia, began to begin drasher again. Ayel Bar Kapara. Hadalaresha. Okay, again. Asa Reb Shimon Beribi. Hadalaresha. Rav went back to the beginning again. Asa Reb Chanina. Reb Chama. Amar Kuli Hai Nahadav and Ezel said, Rav, so much I have to go back to the beginning. Leichada. He didn't go back. Ikbi Reb Chanina. For everyone he goes back, he doesn't go back for me. Azal Rav Legabe Tlesa Bali Yom Kippur. Rav went to Reb Chanina 13 Yom Kippurs. Lo Yefaisin. He wasn't Mefaisin. Now again, we had him the Yom Aleph three times. How could he go 13 times? Rab Yosi Bar Chanina. Anyone who has pardons from his friend, Al Yivakesh Mena Yosim Mishalish Pamim. The Gemara says, Rav Shiny. Rav is different. Says Rashi, Rav Shiny, Machma Hoya La'atzma. He was Machma on himself. We'll get back to this. In other words, you don't have to go more than 3 times. Rav was Machma. Okay. Rav Chanina, Hechi Ovid Hachi. Now, what about Rav Chanina? How could he go ahead and be so cruel to not give in to Rav all these years, right? It's going all the time. For Omar Rava, Kol Maver Al Midaisav. Anyone's Maver his midas, anyone doesn't stand on his midas. If a person goes against his base nature, and like this case again, the midas is not to be forgiven. You can forgive. It's a Kadosh Baruch Hu Mavan Yomi midas. So Amar Reb Chanina, Chel Mechazle. Reb Chanina saw a dream, and what did he see in the dream? Chazle Rav, there's a fu bedikla. The Rav was hanging from a palm tree. The Gemiri had a Messiah. The Chol is the fu bedikla. Anyone who hung from a palm tree, Reisha Havi, he was going to be at the head. Amar Shmamina Boila Mava Rishusa. He's going to have to be there Rosh Hashiva. And I won't appease him. Ki heichid the lazel that he should leave. Ulgama urta bebubble to teach a raisa, to teach Torah in bubble. So let's see Rashi over here.
The plan.
Yeah, this is old plan. Okay, so we have Rav was machmir on himself. Second line from the top, left side. Chal mechazil Rav. Roh chaloim al Rav. Reb Chanina saw a chaloim concerning Rav. That he was suspended from a palm tree. For who simin the sios roish ugedula. It's a sign of what of nasi, of being a nasi, a prince in the gedula. Rabbi Chanina Rosh Yeshiva haya. Rabbi Chanina was Rosh Yeshiva. Kidama Rebbe, as Rebbe says in Kesubis, b'shas Petirasa, when Rebbe was dying, Chanina Bar Chama Yeshiv Baroish. He should be the Rosh Yeshiva. Ukeshara Chaloim Zeh al Rav Doyig Lamus. He was worried that why he's going to die. If you ain't Malchus Nages Bechavirasa. One Malchus can teach another. I feel Kim Alinima. So if Rav's going to be Rosh Hashiva, I'm dead. So Omar adche michacha, let me go ahead and push him away from here. And he'll go ahead and run away to Bavel. The Fanai, Vishom Yiyeh Roish, and there he'll be the head. And therefore I won't go right. I won't die because of him. So in other words, according to this pshat, he had every reason for himself to be makbid. Now the question is, are you allowed to do this? All of us are saying, in our righteous way, what kind of guy is this guy? So self-centered and everything. Well, we'll see the halacha. Now, I said we'll get back to that. It said Rav Shiny. That's the girsa of Rashi, and that's the girsa we have in Agamara. The Rosh had a girsa, Rabbi Shiny. Reb Chanina was Rav's Rebbe. When do we say 3 times? That's by what? By a regular person, right? But if it's your Rebbe, then even 13 times, even more. Now, it comes out, guys, a fascinating nafkamina halacha. If you learn like Rashi, that Rav was machmir, so Memela, we could also be machmir. We're not limited to 3 times. We could also go over many, many, many times, yeah? But if you hold Rabbi Shiny, it's dafka Rabbi you'd have to go over. But any other person would be more than 3 times. So usually, it's very funny. You have like a little agartha Gemara. You'll appreciate a halacha now based upon just what we saw. This halacha is in Simin Taf Reish Vav. Sheyefayis on l'chaveri Rev Yom Kippurim. Averish shebeinod, the lashon of the mechaber. Averish shebeinod l'chaveroi. Ein Yom Kippur mechaber ad sheyfaysenu. You have to appease your friend. V'afil lo yiknito ele b'dvarim, as we just said, even if it's not monetarily, if it's only b'dvarim, tzarich l'faysei, you have to appease him. Then ein l'faysei v'rishayna, if he doesn't take appeasement the first time, yachse v'yelech pam shniya, go a second time. Ushlishis and a third time. That's it, 3 times. And each time you go, you should take 3 people with you. You don't have to. That's the mechaba. 3 times is. Says the Rama, Miu, Yoima achakach lefnei asara shebikish men mechila. You should go ahead and say in front of 10 people, he's still alive. I asked mechila from him. It's a Mordechai in Yuma. Now, then who Rabbi says the mechaba? Then if it's his Rebbe, tzarich leilach loy kama pamim achis. So obviously, where did he get this halacha from? The Gerson, the Gemara, not Rav Shiny, but what? But Rabbi Shiny, right? And now you get the halacha based upon the story. Says the Ramah, "V'hamoichel lo yiyeh achsari milimchal," and the one who is what, who's being asked, should not be going ahead and being cruel and not offer it. If not that he's mechavin for what? Mevakesh mechila, meaning for the good of the individual. There's a pshat in this Maisa that he wanted Rav to go to Bavel, not so much for himself, like Rashi, to save his life, but Rav was Bavel. Rav was in Eretz Yisrael, the Torah was in Eretz Yisrael. Rav came to Bavel, he started, Rav and Shmuel, they started Bavel. So his kavanah was l'shem shemayim. I'm not meichel you. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to leave. And his kavanah was so Rav's good. And Rav went into Bavel and became Rav. Okay, so that's what the says the Mishnah Berurah mechila for who adin in mechavin l'toivus atzman. Who adin, he doesn't have to mefayis if he's mechavin for his own. Where did Mishnah Berurah get this from? Beautiful, right? What, beautiful, right? That's how he just said. Chanina was about himself. He was worried about his own skin. He didn't want to die. So if it's Atzmai, then he's not in Michael. If you're worried that Hezek's going to come out when you're Michael. Fascinating, right? But like you wouldn't, you just read this unless it develops so nicely from the Gemara. It's fascinating. You learn a little in Gemara and the halacha develops. It's really, really nice. I thought I'd share it with you. Okay. Okay, we did that. Says the Gemara. Tanabanan. Mitzvahs vidui is Erev Yom Kippur im Chashecha. During the Tosefes of Yom Kippur, there's a mitzvah vidui. Aval Amru Chachamim Yisvadu Koidim Sheyoichal. Really, when's the mitzvah, guys? We say it by mincha. Really, there's no mitzvah by mincha. This Tosefes, when you say Kol Nidre over there, that Tosefes, when we add on, that's when you should say vidui. So, however, Amru Chachamim Yisvadu Koidim Sheyoichal v'yishte. You should go ahead. What? and then misvada before you eat and drink. Shema titrif taita besuda. Maybe you'll get drunk, and then you won't be misvada in when Tosefes. Tosefes will come. You'll be drunk. Again, they didn't drink root beer. They drank the real thing. They drank wine. So, they drank wine, and therefore you could possibly get drunk, and therefore you'll miss your calling. So therefore, to ensure that you don't, okay. Even though he's vada before he eats and drinks, you should go ahead and say vidu after you eat. Maybe maybe you'll do an avera in the suda. Now you're used to hearing we say vidu at mincha. Maybe you'll die in the suda, right? That's a Rambam. It's not the Gemara. The Rambam says that. With shemi yiradov kol besuda, guys, meaning you have to say it again. But Tosefes is because maybe during the suda you did another avera. Okay. Now we don't do this. We don't say vidu. We say vidu by davening. We say it once. But this is the source, guys, for tefillah zaka. Mr. Brewer brings down. This is the source for tefillah zaka that you say before, right? That this is the source of tefillah zaka. The alpha pisha visvada arvis, visvada shachris, visvada musaf, visvada mincha, visvada ben ila. The heichen amru. Where do you say it? Yochin amet achat tefillasa. Yochin says after you finish Shemona Esrei. B'sheich tzibo amru beemsa. It says in Shemona Esrei. My yama. What exactly is vidui amarav? Ata yedei razay olam, and the whole lashon that we have of tefillah, it's lashon of the Rambam. Ushmul lama mimake halev. Rashi says we don't have this tefillah, we lost it. Rashi says it's tefillah, we don't have it. The Levi Amar u'b'terasa kosav lemor kibiyom hazeh yichaper alechem. Kibiyom hazeh yichaper alechem. And this they wad Tyra Srem Kocha Seichem L'fnei Hashem Titara. Okay. So that's what Rabbi Yochanan Rabbana Olamim, Rabbi Yudam Kiyav Roseinu Rabu, Elimnois, they're too much to count, Seinu Atzmai Misbar, they're too strong. Rabbi Nuno Amar, Alkaya Shlenatsati, and Ikadai Akshash Nesati Gilenatsati, Afani Bechaya, Kavim Misasi, I need the Fanecha Klima, Busha Klima, yourself Fanecha Shle Echto, Mashachatas, Tasi, Meros Fanecha, Avloya de Yasurim, Bahainu Vidoi de Rava, Kuli Shasan. This video, Alkaya Nesati, was Rava's during the whole year. And that's was it. That all these things, if you don't say avalanachtu chatanu, aval amar avalanachtu chatanu suleit sarech. I'm duty. Havi kamim the kamei de Shmuel. Havi Yosef v'chimata shliach tzibur of Ama avalanachtu chatanu kami kamei. He got up. Shmamina ikavidehu. That's the ikavidehu, right? That's the ikavidehu. He got up at that time. It's brought down la halacha that is the ikavidehu, saying that valanachtu chatanu. Okay, we'll stop over here.